Alonzo hits 6th HR of year 0 hours 0 minutes and 18 seconds. New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso annihilates his 6th home run into the centerfield pond and continues his scorching rookie campaign. Pete Alonso has certainly shown his raw power early on this season, but none of his extra base hits compared to the bomb he hit in SunTrust Park tonight. Alonso hit his 6th homer to deep center field at 454 feet with a 118.3 miles per hour exit velocity, which is the hardest hit home run in the majors this season. It is also the hardest hit Mets HR since StatCast began tracking back in 2015. Alonzo also found himself in some rare company, as his 118.3 miles per hour long ball has him tied 9th in the hardest hit homers in the StatCast era. Only the Yankees' Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton were a part of that list until tonight. And Rosario has also been swinging a hot bat lately, and it clearly has some pop. The Mets shortstop belted a 3-run home run, his first of the season, to right center field at SunTrust Park. Video, and Rosario jacks 3-run HR against Braves, and he wasn't done. Rosario also had an RBI single in this one to help extend the Mets' lead. Video, and Rosario single plates his 4th RBI of game April 7, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard, 34, at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Wendell Cruz. USA Today Sports. Wendell Cruz. As Mets fans know, starter Noah Syndergaard likes to have his fun with some mascots. Whether it's his feud with Mr. Met or stealing the Philly Fanatics ATV, mascots always need to stay on their toes when it comes to Thor. But the Atlanta Braves blooper took initiative tonight by going up to Syndergaard himself to poke some fun. Well, Syndergaard, shades on and all, didn't budge to any of blooper's antics. Click below to see the video. The Mets are about to embark on a 13-game stretch during which they have one off day that could play a significant role in how things play out the rest of this season. So far this year, the Mets have split their 6 games against the Nationals. In the next 2 weeks, they will play 10 games against their other top competition in the NL East, the Phillies and Braves, both of whom are tied with the Mets at 7-4 atop the division. This will be the first this season the Mets will play either of these teams. April 9, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets shortstop Rosario, 1, hits an RBI double against the Minnesota Twins during the 2nd inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. The Mets travel south to face the Braves for the first time this season in a 4-game series at SunTrust Park at 7:20 p.m. Mets notes the Mets finished 2-3 on their first homestand of the season. They defeated the Twins last night, thanks in part to 11 free passes, 10 walks, 1 HBP. New York has begun the season 5-1 on the road, and they'll look to keep that going. Last season, the Mets went 3-6 in Atlanta. Michael Conforto is enjoying early success at the plate this season with a .372 average, 3 homers, 4 doubles, 12 runs, 8 RBI and 5 walks. He also has an RBI in his last 4 games. The Mets have scored 69 runs through 11 games this season, which is tied for most in franchise history. Click here to follow VSNY Game Day. Winter is here. With Game of Thrones set to return Sunday for its 8th and final season, New York athletes gave their predictions and talked about theories for how the saga will end. Click below. New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso celebrates in the dugout after hitting a 3-run homer in the 9th inning against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park. Steve Mitchell, USA Today Sports. When it comes to barrel per batted ball percentage, which measures exit velocity and launch angle, the Yankees lead the majors, while the Mets are second. The full leaderboard is below. When will Jed Lowry return? 0 hours 0 minutes and 39 seconds. On the Say Anything podcast, Doug Williams and Andy Martino discuss the status of the injured Jed Lowry, and when he might return. Mets have been without Jed Lowry all season as he deals with a knee injury. Mickey Callaway gave a promising update earlier this week, and SNY's Andy Martino provided the latest on Lowry during Wednesday's Say Anything podcast, The Amazing Life, from Way to NJ. 0 hours 2 minutes and 0 seconds on the season premiere of The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola. Todd Frazier tries to give teammate Brendan Nimmo some New Jersey style. On the season premiere of The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola, Todd Frazier tries to give teammate Brendan Nimmo some New Jersey style. April 10, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets shortstop Amed Rosario, 1, and New York Mets right fielder Michael Conforto, 30, celebrate after defeating the Minnesota Twins at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Noah K. Murray. USA Today Sports. Noah K. Murray. The Mets, 7-4, tied for first place in the NL East, face the Braves in Atlanta on Thursday night at 7:20 p.m. on SNY. Here's what went down on Wednesday, in case you missed it. In the Mets' win over the Twins, they achieved something that hadn't been done in the majors since 1994. Greater than read more. Syndergaard. Mets beat Twins 0 hours 1 minute and 4 seconds. New York Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard stifled the Twins with his arsenal and says this is the best he's felt mechanically in a long time. This is the Noah Syndergaard Mets fans are used to seeing. From the start of Syndergaard's night on the Citi Field mound against the Twins, you could feel this was one where Thor could go deep. His fastball was ramped up to 98 to 99 miles per hour early, and he even topped 100 miles per hour in the 1-2-3 first inning. After a quick blip in the third, where he allowed one run to cross the plate, Syndergaard cruised. Mechanically, I felt probably the best I've felt in a long time, Syndergaard told reporters after his 7-inning, 7-strikeout night. So just trying to work on continuing to make that consistent. I guess when my mechanics are spot on, I get a little more movement on my ball. Mets top Twins at Citi. 0 hours 0 minutes and 45 seconds. New York Mets were dealt 6 consecutive walks in an inning and took advantage to break this game open against the Twins. The Twins basically handed the Mets this one, as a walk-happy Minnesota pitching staff led New York to a 9-6 win at Citi Field on Wednesday night. Greater than box score. 6 things to know about Wednesday's game. 1. Noah Syndergaard had a decent outing for the Mets in this one. He allowed 4 runs on 5 hits over 7 innings of work with 7 strikeouts and no walks. Most of Syndergaard's runs allowed came in the 8th, as Mickey Callaway sent him back out for the inning. He allowed an RBI double and then an RBI triple which forced him out of the game. Despite those mistakes, his fastball was working around 98 to 99 all night long with top outs at 100. Wilson Ramos 2-run single. 0 hours 0 minutes and 15 seconds. New York Mets catcher Wilson Ramos hits a 2-run single with the bases loaded against the Minnesota Twins. The Mets had a very unconventional bottom of the 5th inning, but Wilson Ramos managed to play 2 with a bases loaded, 2 RBI single to break the game open. April 4, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Noah Syndergaard, 34, pitches against the Washington Nationals during the 2nd inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. Noah Syndergaard returns to the mound as the Mets finish up a 2-game set against the Twins at Citi Field on Wednesday at 7:10 p.m. on SNY. Mets notes with their loss on Tuesday, the Mets have lost consecutive games for the first time this season. They have 15 homers over their first 10 games, the 3rd highest total in franchise history over their first 10 games. Wilson Ramos is back behind the plate. Pete Alonso looks to continue his torrid start. He's the first player in modern MLB history with 11 extra base hits over his first 10 career Major League games. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day, July 31, 2018, Washington, D.C., USA. New York Mets relief pitcher Jacob Rame, 35 pitches during the first inning against the Washington Nationals at Nationals Park. Mandatory credit, Tommy Gilligan. USA Today Sports. Tommy Gilligan. As the Mets traveled north from Port St. Lucie, their bullpen looked to be a solid unit. New GM Brodie Van Wagenen landed the MLB's saves leader and closer Edwin Diaz and brought back Juris Familia to join Robert Gesellman and Seth Lugo. Lefty Justin Wilson was also a crucial free agent pickup. But this group has not gotten off to the start they hoped for in 2019. As a whole, though, the 7 bullpen arms, that includes Luis Avilan and Tim Peterson as well, own a combined 5.76 ERA to start the new year. Avilan has the worst ERA of the relievers, sitting at 16.20 after allowing 6 runs in 3.1 innings. Lugo is also struggling with a 8.10 ERA after allowing 6 earned over 6.2 innings. Doug Williams and Andy Martino go in depth about the catching scenarios for the team, and how it's a lot more complicated than it may seem. They also discuss Dallas Keuchel and the starting rotation, plus the depth on the team and what happens when Frazier returns. Click below to listen. October 16, 2018, Houston, Texas, USA. Houston Astros starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel, 60, delivers a pitch in the first inning against the Boston Red Sox in Game 3 of the 2018 ALCS Playoff Baseball Series at Minute Maid Park. Mandatory credit, Troy Tormina. USA Today Sports, Troy Tormina. The Mets have continued to be in contact with free agent starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel, according to SNY's Andy Martino. The Athletic's Ken Rosenthal recently reported that, while Keuchel would prefer a multi-year deal, he is open to signing a one-year contract worth more than the $17.9 million qualifying offer he rejected. Brodie Van Wagenen did a terrific job this past winter working to improve the team's position, player depth, but he has yet to create reliable, proven insurance for the pitching staff, specifically the rotation. In Keuchel, Van Wagenen has the opportunity to add depth, reliability and experience to his rotation, but it also comes with a variety of cons as well. Brodie Van Wagenen, Matthew Zeroni, MetsBlog.com, 3 days after he walked 5 batters in just 1.2 innings against the Nationals at Citi Field, RH reliever Tim Peterson has been optioned by the Mets to AAA Syracuse. Peterson, who had turned in 3 scoreless appearances before Sunday's disaster, had a 4.50 ERA and 2.50 WHIP in 4.0 innings. To replace Peterson, the Mets called up RHP Corey Oswalt, who has made 1 start this season for AAA, allowing 3 runs on 4 hits while walking 1 and striking out 5 in 5.2 innings. April 3, 2017, New York City, New York, USA. General view of fans outside Citi Field before a game between the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner. In the latest Forbes valuations of MLB teams, the Mets are valued at $2.3 billion, the 6th most valuable franchise in the league. That is a 10% increase from last year's valuation by Forbes, which pegged the Mets at being worth $2.1 billion. The Mets are one of 7 MLB teams worth at least $2 billion, according to Forbes. They edge out the number 7 Cardinals by $200 million. Van Wagenen gives Mets update. 0 hours 1 minute and 51 seconds. Brodie Van Wagenen stopped by the SNY booth during last night's Mets game. Watch some of the highlights including how he met Jacob deGrom. Brodie Van Wagenen stopped by the SNY booth during Tuesday night's Mets game. Watch some of the highlights including how he met Jacob deGrom. April 9, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso, 20, watches the flight of his solo home run against the Minnesota Twins during the 7th inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, Mets rookie Pete Alonso has been on fire during the first 10 games of his big league career. And now he's at the point where he's making history. Alonso, who crushed 2 more homers on Tuesday night to bring his season total to 5, became the first player in modern MLB history, since 1900, to have at least 11 extra base hits in his first 10 career games, per the Elias Sports Bureau. No other player has ever had more than 9 extra base hits in his first 10 games. The 24-year-old Alonzo is hitting .385, .429, .923 with 5 homers, 6 doubles, 14 RBI, and 8 runs scored in 10 games, 42 plate appearances. Mets walloped by Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 56 seconds. New York Mets pitcher Jacob deGrom knows he didn't have his best stuff against the Twins, takes blame and ready to move on to his next start. It has been a while since Jacob deGrom had an outing like he did Tuesday night at Citi Field. The Mets ace struggled against the Twins, allowing 6 runs in 4 innings on 8 hits and a walk in a 14-8 loss, snapping a 26-game quality start streak, one shy of breaking the record set by Hall of Bob Gibson in the 1967-68 seasons, yet it was letting his team down that was eating away at deGrom after the game. April 2, 2019, Miami, Florida, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jason Vargas, right, talks with catcher Wilson Ramos, left, near the pitcher's mound in the 5th inning against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park. Mandatory credit, Steve Mitchell. USA Today Sports. Steve Mitchell. Every time Jason Vargas steps on a mound, Dallas Keuchel becomes more appealing to the Mets. How could that not be the case, even when Vargas is only pitching for an inning, as he did in the 9th of Tuesday's 14-8 loss to Minnesota? His inability to fool hitters is evident. Alonzo homers twice versus Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 37 seconds. New York Mets had a rough loss to the Twins Tuesday night, but saw Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto and Brendan Nimmo all-homer. Jacob deGrom did not have it, and the Mets dropped their second straight game in a 14-8 loss to the Minnesota Twins on Tuesday at Citi Field. Greater than box score. 6 things to know about Tuesday's game. 1. Jacob deGrom had the chance to extend a couple record tonight at Citi Field. The Twins had other plans. deGrom was mortal tonight as he allowed 6 runs on 8 hits, including 3 homers, over 4 innings. Mitch Garver was the man that broke his scoreless inning streak in the second with a solo homer to center. Then, after a wild pitch scored Jorge Polanco in the third, Eddie Rosario and Garver went back-to-back to make it 5-1 Mets. deGrom's MLB record consecutive starts allowing 3 runs or fewer was also capped at 31 straight tonight. Pete Alonso homers against Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 17 seconds. New York Mets rookie Pete Alonso becomes the 4th Mets rookie to homer in 3 straight games. The Mets may have been down, but Pete Alonso wasn't going to give up. The rookie sent his 4th homer over the right field fence, as you can see. He went deep later in the 9th as well, showing off that opposite field power. Brody Van Wagenen, Matthew Zeroni, MetsBlog.com. Brody Van Wagenen understands that image resonates over everything, which is why extending Jacob deGrom was an essential part of his vision for the future of the Mets. In a Sports Illustrated profile of Van Wagenen, the Mets GM explained that he laid out a plan to Fred and Jeff Wilpon that included locking up the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner long-term in an effort to rid a culture of negativity that seems to surround the franchise. I think that most Mets fans wake up defeated, he said. I wanted Mets fans to wake up with the belief that winning is the only outcome that they can expect. September 8, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets third baseman Todd Frazier, 21, hits an RBI sacrifice fly against the Philadelphia Phillies during the 6th inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Andy Marlin. USA Today Sports. Andy Marlin. Among the things people expected to hear on Tuesday, Todd Frazier being an option for the Mets at shortstop was probably not high on the list. But here we are. Frazier, who will play 9 innings in a rehab game on Tuesday night, will spend 4 of those innings at shortstop, manager Mickey Callaway said before the Mets game at Citi Field against the Twins. According to Callaway, the Mets want to have that option of using Frazier at shortstop when he returns. And that could be soon, with the 33-year-old progressing since beginning his rehab assignment on April 2nd. He has been out since Feb. 26 due to a strained left oblique. Jed Lowry. Mark Flamini, SNY. Mets manager Mickey Callaway said Tuesday that he is very encouraged by how injured infielder Jed Lowry looks, adding that, "He looks great, he's moving around great." Callaway added that Lowry feels great hitting, and that there is definite progress there. However, Callaway is not yet ready to give a time frame for Lowry's potential return. April 3, 2019, Miami, Florida, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48, prepares to deliver pitch in the sixth inning of the game against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park. Mandatory credit, Sam Navarro. USA Today Sports. Sam Navarro. Jacob deGrom gets the ball to start a quick two-game set against the Twins at Citi Field on Tuesday at 7:10 p.m. On SNY, Mets notes the Mets have won 7 straight games against the Twins, which goes all the way back to 2010. deGrom is one of 4 pitches since 1893 to strike out 10 or more batters and not allow a run in each of his first 2 starts of the season. Pete Alonso is hitting .382 with 6 runs, 6 doubles, 3 homers, and 11 RBI so far this season. He hit his 3rd homer on Sunday. Michael Conforto has homered in back-to-back games. Edwin Diaz has converted all 4 of his save attempts so far. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day. How many home runs for Alonzo? 0 hours 0 minutes and 54 seconds. Pete Alonso has started his rookie season on a tear. He's already hit 3 home runs. SNY asked fans how many they thought he'd hit in 2019. Pete Alonso has started his rookie season on a tear, already hitting 3 home runs. SNY asked fans how many they thought he'd hit in 2019. Mickey Callaway received criticism from fans and reporters this past Saturday morning when he revealed J.D. Davis would again be hitting cleanup, despite Davis entering the game with a .150 batting average. Wilson Ramos, who most critics felt should bat 4th, was pushed to hitting 5th, while Michael Conforto was dropped to batting 6th. Davis, who is said to have significant support in the front office, rewarded Callaway by hitting 2 solo home runs against Nationals starting pitcher Patrick Corbin, the first of which was the hardest-hit home run in MLB this season, according to StatCast. New York Mets manager Mickey Callaway takes out pitcher Zack Wheeler in the 5th inning against the Washington Nationals at Citi Field. Wendell Cruz, USA Today Sports. There are ways to explain away Zack Wheeler's disappointing start to his season, from getting fastball happy in his first outing to being a bit out of whack mechanically at home Sunday, when he walked the ballpark. Furthermore, there were just enough good innings amidst the wreckage, featuring an electric fastball and solid secondary stuff, to believe that Wheeler could right himself quickly and begin living up to the high expectations he created with his spectacular second half in 2018. An NL scout who was at Citi Field on Sunday said, "When I asked him on Monday to evaluate Wheeler's latest start, Keeping Up with Brody, 0 hours 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Steve Jelbs chats with Brodie Van Wagenen about his path to becoming the GM of the Mets on Keeping Up with Brody, presented by Verizon." SNY's Steve Jelbs chats with Brodie Van Wagenen about his path to becoming the GM of the Mets on Keeping Up with Brody, presented by Verizon. July 16, 2015, Toronto, Ontario, Cuba shortstop Yorbis Baroto, 35, is congratulated by manager Roger Machado, 61, after hitting a 2-run home run in the 8th inning against Nicaragua during the 2015 Pan Am Games at Ajax Pan Am Ballpark. Mandatory credit, Tom Scherbowski. USA Today Sports. Tom Scherbowski. The Donald Trump administration is seeking to overturn a Barack Obama-era deal between Major League Baseball and Cuba, the result of which would lead to it becoming harder for Cuban players to come play in the United States. According to NBC News, the decision that was made by the Obama administration said the Cuban Baseball League was not part of the Cuban government. The Trump administration is attempting to reverse the decision by saying the league and government are intertwined. In a letter to the Treasury Department, obtained by ESPN's Jeff Passan, the Trump administration writes that a payment to the Cuban Baseball Federation is a payment to the Cuban government. Craig Kimbrell or Dallas Keuchel? 0 hours 0 minutes and 24 seconds. Both Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel remain unsigned. SNY asked Mets fans who they'd sign to help with Mets pitching. Free agents Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel both remain unsigned. SNY asked Mets fans who they'd rather sign to help with Mets pitching. If you've followed the Mets over the past decade or so, you're familiar with an identity common to nearly every season: the team features a world-class rotation and a lineup that doesn't score enough to support it. It's a pattern best personified by that famous game in 2015, when Eric Campbell and John Mayberry Jr. comprised the middle of the lineup while both batting around .170. But the roster has felt this way at least since the front office decided to build around arms like Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, Zack Wheeler and Noah Syndergaard. Watching these Mets through spring training and the first 9 games of the regular season, you sense an unexpected inversion of that formula. The deep lineup will score runs all year, and the team's chances at contending for a championship will hinge on whether it is able to pitch enough. February 25, 2019, West Palm Beach, FL, USA, New York Mets shortstop Andrés Giménez, 72, fields a ground ball in the second inning against the Houston Astros during a spring training game at FITTEAM ballpark of the Palm Beaches. Mandatory credit: Jason Vinlove, USA Today Sports. Jason Vinlove, Danny Abriano, SNY.TV. Twitter. Every Monday, we'll be taking a look at how the Mets' top prospects, their MLB.com Mets top 10 rankings are are faring. Andrés Giménez, SS, double of Binghamton, no. 2, ETA 2020. The 20-year-old Giménez, who is the Mets' no. 2 prospect by default. MLB.com has not yet removed Pete Alonso's no. 1 prospect status, is viewed by most minor league experts as one of the best 50 or so prospects in baseball. Giménez has been one of the youngest players in each league he's played in during his climb to Double-A. He hit .282, .348, .432 with 28 stolen bases in 85 games last season for High A Street. Lucy before being promoted to Double-A, where he has opened this season with just 1 hit in 14 at-bats spanning 3 games. Zack Wheeler wild in 12-9 loss, 0 hours 0 minutes and 44 seconds. Zack Wheeler walked 7 and 4 in 2/3 innings. His outing was left a lot to be desired, but for manager Mickey Callaway it should be an easy fix. Zack Wheeler would like to move on from Sunday's start as soon as possible, but first, the righty assessed his performance during the Mets' 12-9 loss to the Nationals in rather harsh terms. "I was just off a little, mechanically," he said after the game. "But that doesn't mean I got to go out there and do what I did. It was just an embarrassing day for me and one of those that you just want to forget and look forward to the next start." Brandon Nimmo's start to 2019 has one of the happiest players in baseball feeling a little down. The Mets outfielder entered Sunday's game, an eventual 12-9 defeat for New York, 2 for 26 with 17 strikeouts over the first 8 games of the season. The slumping Nimmo was held out of the starting lineup against Max Scherzer and the Nationals, but manager Mickey Callaway inserted the 26-year-old as a pinch hitter as part of a double switch in the 5th inning. Nimmo flew out to center in the bottom half of that frame, but faced Scherzer again in the 7th. He worked a 2-0 count before lining a double to right field that plated Luis Guillorme. December 5, 2017, New York, USA. 2017 Sports Illustrated Hope Award recipient and World Series champion with the Houston Astros, Carlos Beltran at Barclays Center. Mandatory credit: Wendell Cruz, USA Today Sports. Wendell Cruz, one of the most successful players in recent Mets history. Carlos Beltran,